Hi everyone, my name is Abby Gundersen, and I am going to be taking you through my research presentation, Social Media Cannot Outdate Human Nature, an analysis of the correlation between social media usage and the spiral of silence theory. So let's go ahead and get started. Just to give you a quick preview of the presentation today, we're going to be going through basically the main contents of my research paper and just giving you some of the key highlight points. So to start, let's go ahead and head into my abstract. So for my abstract, I started with the spiral of silence theory, which was created by Elizabeth Noel Newman. It explains the idea that humans actively avoid negative consequences caused by publicly sharing their ideas that diverge from the status quo. So using kind of spiral of silence theory, thinking about the past 2 years, that effect that's had on me, thinking about, social media, being a mass comm major, so I constructed this question: could social media outdate the spiral of silence theory in relation to the pandemic by creating accessible online connection between like-minded individuals in the minority, or who diverge from the status quo? So I categorized my introduction and just kind of my whole paper in these three main key points: spiral of silence theory, the pandemic, and social media. So the whole reason why I was super motivated, obviously thinking about the effect the pandemic has had on a lot of us, but just also thinking about how social media is such a wonderful forum where people can connect with others. I felt like even though my opinions about maybe COVID or the pandemic has been different than maybe my peers, I've been able to go to social media as a place to kind of find that open communication space to connect and talk with others. So I kind of wanted to see if others felt like that was a similar experience they had. So, of course, for my literature review, I really needed to dive in, make sure I was completely familiar with the spiral of silence theory, other theories that may have related, and start with this like foundational information. So that's what I labeled the first section of the paper. So I've got my foundational information, talking about the theory itself, how it came to be, a little bit of background on other theories that relate to it as well, going into my connection to social media, having it be actually applied to social media, talking about just basically fear of breaking from a status quo on social media or fear of breaking from norms on social media and how that's quite unpopular. Then diving into research, so having this theory of spiral of silence theory be then applied to actual case studies or having meta-analysis being done on it, or even other surveys where I got some of my questions from. Kind of bringing this all into my methodology. So I've done the research after looking at other theories. I kind of almost came up with my, I guess, hypothesis that social media eradicates the negative consequences linked to having this minority view because users can constantly be in contact with others who share similar views without fear of backlash. So, what better way to kind of spread this than obviously social media? So, I used Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as my platforms for sharing it, and then also went around school and shared just a QR code and kind of met and got my survey started. And it was for about 10 days I had it running, and I got 80 participants. So the survey was in three different parts. This is just what I've labeled it to kind of simplify it. So we've got who are you, how comfortable, and social media. And so who are you just really was so I could figure out if I got my targeted like segmentation and my demographic. And so I wanted to make sure I was really shooting for like 18 to 24, maybe even 18 to 30-year olds, and then men and women both, and people who mostly went to HBU is how it started, and then it kind of just went into like all college students. And so got that demographic down. Then we went into how comfortable. So these were all statements that said, I feel comfortable sharing my views on the pandemic. How comfortable do you feel? So I use this Likert scale, which is what I placed at the bottom, and it was from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and social media. So then applying these concepts to social media use. So if you're a regular social media user, disagree to agree, and then I use social media as a way to connect with others with like-minded beliefs and values, and so kind of applying like maybe if we can't get these same beliefs or feel comfortable in the real world in a public forum, a real physical space, we can go into this virtual place and still be able to connect. So leading this into my results and discussion, of course, I had to do some reliability tests. The reliability for part two and part three, the I feel and social media, comfortability in social media, realizing that those are good. So then going ahead and kind of showing you guys just a glimpse of what my actual demographics were. So 18 to 30-year-old was very, very high. I got a lot of that like 18 to 24-year-old range that I was hoping for. Then gender, I think I just reach more women on my social media, and I think women were more willing, maybe in general, to participate. I'm not 100% sure, but in this kind of stuff, so surveys and things like that, and so they participated quite heavily more. And then I just kind of wanted to show the college student graphic just how set separated it is. It feels really even and nice. So I wasn't getting too many seniors as I'm a senior or, too many freshmen. I was getting a really even number. Even graduated people or graduate students were represented. So then moving into my diagram. So these were all just these top three diagrams were Pearson's correlations that I ran between different questions like, I feel comfortable or social media helps me. And then the last one was an independent sample t-test. And what all of these showed me was that I was absolutely completely wrong, which leads me to my conclusion. Social media cannot outdate human nature. The spiral of silence theory still proves to be true, and neither virtual spaces nor public places really offer a place for pandemic related conversation without bias, without having people feel like they have to be silenced, without that really spiral of silence theory being in effect. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned a lot about the spiral of silence theory, and I hope it was interesting. This was created, these are my references on SlidesGo, and so thank you very much.